have like a traditional background in art, so when I was making things on my own, it was just about like making things for the fun of it and the craft of it and just experimenting. And I guess when I went into art school and started working on paintings and things, it was this like solitary process of working on something in a studio and then trying to show it to somebody, and if you can't put it up anywhere, you pack it and store it and just like hide it somewhere. And I think that process became a little bit like frustrating. The tape kind of came out of that frustration of like the tape was something that I could go outside immediately, work with whenever I wanted to. It was an immediate access to public. When I put something up, there's people on the street that could see it and interact with it immediately. In general, the architecture of the city is so contrast from a suburban neighborhood where I grew up in. And just the architecture itself, it's just like the city's a lot of like big, minimal boxes. And I think I just kind of took that as like a launch point and went from there. I kind of took the process of what I do outside indoors in a way. I think this is the closest like kind of group of works that have achieved that. I really wanted to react to the gallery space in the way that I react outside. Some things like that are staples of a gallery space are white walls. It has upright walls and a floor and a ceiling. In speaking to the white, I thought the black would be the most contrast and speak to the form the most. I didn't feel like color was necessary in terms of these works here. When artworks are placed on the wall, they're kind of these like singular floating visual pieces of land, and like the wall around it was this kind of like white ocean. So I started to kind of look at these like artworks as these islands that kind of float and sit. Behind me, they're all works that are based on forced perspective. And so there's a location in the gallery space where if you stand, the work kind of composes neatly and will fit. So working off those places where you have to stand as those being the islands of the show kind of is where the title came from. In the space there are these silver plates that are on the floor that just was part of the construction of this like industrial warehouse. And so I used those plates as the islands of the points of perspective for where these points work. I think what I found really exciting about these works is that there's this way of walking through the show. So this piece is distorted unless you stand in the correct island. And when you stand in that correct island, you're also simultaneously being a part of the piece that's on the opposite side of the wall. So there's this constant shift between being just a passive viewer into a participant. This piece is called Island 2, and I guess what I was going for with this piece was to give the illusion of this sort of break in the wall. The way the forms work is that each plane kind of alludes to a different angle of entry. So the piece was just supposed to kind of react to the white of the wall, to be able to like simultaneously be embedded and submerged into the wall as well as sitting on top of the wall as an object. These pieces kind of were specifically minimal and kind of monochromatic in that I guess I wanted them to be this kind of void in the white wall, this like expanse that you could feel like you could almost enter into. It's a huge scale, so I kind of liked the idea of multiple people being able to interact with it. I think the longer kind of you look at these works, the better they work.